Hey guys, Duncan Meter, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the second video in a series of a few videos on very basic handgun operation, breakdown, nomenclature, just how to use basic pieces and parts of a handgun and what everything is and what it does. There's a lot of people that are new to firearm ownership that want to buy a handgun for self-defense, for protection, to go shooting with friends, target shooting, hunting, whatever the case might be. And sometimes the gun culture is a little rough and people are embarrassed to ask others for fear of being shamed, mocked. You should know how to do this. If you don't know how to do this, you shouldn't own a handgun. Guys, everyone has to start somewhere. Even Duncan Meter himself had to start somewhere. So if you are new to handgun ownership, if you have never owned one before and you're thinking about buying one, you just bought one and maybe your state doesn't require you to go out and do a live fire episode before you purchase one, this video is going to show you just some basic operations of a handgun, what different things are called, so that way when you go to a gun store and the person behind the counter is saying, well, I need you to grab the slide and press the release, and you're like, what's a slide? What's a release? I have no idea. This video will hopefully help you out with that. If you're an experienced firearm owner, maybe you can learn something from here, or maybe I'm missing something and you want to help me out and the viewers out and leave a comment. It would be really appreciated. If you know everything in the world, don't bother leaving a comment that's going to mock people that don't, because that's just not helpful. I get so many comments from people that say, I can't believe someone's watching a video on how to load a handgun. If you don't know how to do that, you shouldn't own one. Well, then why are you watching the video? Apparently you don't know how to do it because you're watching it. But anyway, without further ado, I want this to be helpful. So let's just start here at the table. What are these items? These right here, some people call them clips, and gun culture is pretty rough. You can get really reamed out for calling this a clip. Really what a clip is for something like an M1 Garand. It's an actual clip that goes in. This is more commonly referred to as a magazine, but if you call it a clip, people know what you're talking about. And if people make fun of you, well, they're just being annoying. But this is called a magazine. And the way you can determine the capacity of the magazine, at least for Glocks, is on the back. You can see it shows the caliber. So caliber is the size of the bullet, so this is a 9mm. And the capacity, since I live in an unfriendly state, is going to be 10 rounds. This is the base plate of the magazine. And the reason I'm pointing this out is some people change these out. You can get ones all different that can extend the capacity, that can have a little space for your pinky. This base plate right here on my magazine for my Glock 43, I actually changed out the base plate and I put one from Turan Tactical, because when I'm grabbing the firearm, it actually gives me a place for my pinky to rest, whereas the stock one, my pinky would just kind of hang out here. So that's just the name of that. So magazine, bullet, really bullet is kind of the end here, and this is the cartridge. But I'm just trying to give you a little more information here, just in case you hear these terms and you don't know what they are. Hopefully this can help you out. Now, the firearm or handgun is in a holster. Now this is an OWB holster, and you're like, what is an OWB? I've read that online. Well, OWB is very simple. It's O for outside, W for waist, and B for band. So outside the waistband. So this would be outside your waistband, up against your thigh, and that's how you would, clip it on with your belt. So OWB. This right here is called a thumb brake. And this is a thumb brake with a button, so it's kind of secured. So if somebody comes up behind you and is trying to yank this out of your holster, the thumb brake is stopping it. And I just want to pause here for a second, because I did put my hand, what some people would say, in an unsafe position right here. This firearm is unloaded. I already checked it for safety. But especially for us new firearm owners that are watching this, don't put your hand in front of the barrel, because you may be unsure if it's unloaded. You may not be used to it enough to really check that. So just be on the safe side and don't do that. But this is called, like I said, a thumb brake. So to release this thumb brake, you're just going to pull the little button and slide the firearm out. So now let's go over some basic terminology of the firearm. But first, let's check to make sure this is unloaded. Now, I know this is unloaded, but you don't. How do we check? Now, when I say unloaded, I want to preface that with, there's bullets in here, but there's none in the chamber. So for all intents and purposes, this is unloaded, but we always want to treat any handgun at all times as if it's loaded. So to check, we're going to press this button right here. And some firearms have the button on one side or the other, but this is called a magazine release. And when you press this button, what's going to happen is it's going to release the magazine from the grip. So I'm going to press this, and the magazine slides right out. Now this magazine has rounds in it, so you might think, okay, I've just unloaded the gun. It's safe. There's no bullets in it. That's not true, because there could be a bullet in the chamber ready to be fired. And the way to check that is to rack the slide. So this is called the slide. And when you hear the term rack the slide, what you're doing is you're pulling the slide backwards. Because what happens while you're firing a handgun, let's say that the magazine is in here and there's one in the chamber. When you pull the trigger and the bullet goes off, the pressure from the bullet releasing from the handgun pushes the slide back. There's a spring here, so it pushes the slide back, and then the slide automatically slides forward again. And when it slides forward again, what it's doing is it's stripping the next bullet off the magazine and putting it into the chamber. Then you pull the trigger, the slide comes back automatically, goes forward again, and it does this lightning fast. And as it's doing that, it's stripping the next bullet and putting it into the chamber. So by releasing the magazine, you are not necessarily empty. You've just taken out the next bullet, but there could still be one in here. So to check that, we're just going to grab the slide, and I like to grab it kind of by the serrations over here so it's a little easier to get a grip. I'm just going to pull it back, and I'm going to look, and there's nothing in there. And now it went forward again. What you can do is you can lock this back. So the next thing I want to show you, so this is called the slide. This little lever right here, I get a lot of questions about this lever. This is called the slide release or the slide lock. So the way this works is when you, and I'm reaching over intentionally because I want to try to teach you good habits not to put your hand in front of the barrel. What you do is you grab the slide and you're going to push it back, and this is hard to push because there's a big spring in here that absorbs the recoil when the round goes off. But as you push this back, you're going to use your thumb and see right here, when this is over the slide release, we're going to push the slide release up to lock the slide back. So I'm going to push this all the way back, push that up, and again, this is hard to do, so you're going to have to work at this and practice a little bit. But now I have locked the slide open, and when you're at a shooting range and there's a ceasefire and they're calling for a ceasefire so people can go up and change their targets and get ready for the next round of shooting, almost every single range, the range instructors are going to want you to drop the magazines. When you hear the term drop the magazine, that basically means you're physically pressing the button and dropping the magazine out and putting it down. They're going to say lock the slide back. Because what they want is they want to walk around to each table, to each station, and visually kind of look and say, okay, the slide is locked back, there's no magazine, I know this is empty. Or you can even go a step further and put it in this position, so that way the range officer can see very clearly that there's no round in here. So those are the basic, very basic components of a handgun. This piece is called the barrel. So this is the barrel, the slide, the trigger, or the trigger assembly, sometimes this is called. This is the slide release, or the slide lock. This is the magazine release button. People are probably wondering, what is this little thing right here? Well, this, on a Glock, is how you take the slide off. So if you wanted to clean the firearm, you would want to remove this slide. I'll show you how to do that, just so you know. This is a little back plate here. Behind here is your firing pin assembly, and all different pieces that you would have to take out. Those are the basic operations. I have other videos on how to clean the firearm, so I don't really want to go into too much detail here. But I will just show you real quick how to take the slide off. And this right here, this is your forward sight, and this is your rear sight. These are just basic sights that come with the Glock. A lot of people put optics on. They put iridium sights that glow in the dark, all sorts of stuff. But these are the very, very basics of a handgun, of kind of how it operates. Now let me just show you how we would take this slide off. So first thing, if you were at the range and you were ready to shoot, so the range officer says, all right, we're all clear, you could resume shooting. You would take your magazine, you would put it in. Now, I don't want to put a loaded magazine in this gun right now because I'm not at a range and I just don't want to have this loaded at the moment. But if I did, if I were at the range and I put the magazine in until it clicked and I'm ready to start shooting, you would take your thumb, and it's a little hard to do this. You've got to practice with this. What you're going to do is you're going to push down hard on this slide release, and then the slide is going to spring forward really quickly, and it's going to strip this bullet off of the magazine, and it's going to push it. It's kind of hard to see, but this is the barrel, this is the chamber. It's going to push that round in there and chamber it. And then you would pull the trigger, it would shoot, and then once you've shot the bullet, as the slide is coming back from the pressure of that round going off, it's going to eject the casing right here. That's going to fly out the side, and then when the slide is going forward again, it's going to strip the next round, and the process repeats itself. So this is in real time. This is how you would just press the slide release. To see that happens real quick. Now again, there's no round in here. We've demonstrated that. So if you were to shoot, the bullet would come out, obviously no round. To remove the slide for cleaning, you need to confirm that the magazine has been dropped, that the chamber is empty. We're going to do everything we just did. And just to be safe again, I'm going to rack it again. We're just going to be triple safe. I'm racking the slide. There's no round in here. To remove the slide on a Glock, you do have to pull the trigger when it's empty. So I've pulled the trigger. And the way I like to do this, I like to use my right hand, and I kind of grab onto the firearm like this with my right hand and my thumb here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this slide back with my right hand. See how I'm doing that? And I'm going to use my left hand, and I'm going to grab this little tab, and there's one on this side too. So I'm going to, as I pull this slide back, I'm going to use my thumb and my index finger on the left hand to pull these tabs down. So watch. I'm pulling them down, and now I can release the slide and it can go forward, and I can remove the slide from the rest of the handgun. And then if I were going to clean this, and again I have a cleaning video, I would remove the spring. This is the actual barrel. This can come out very easily. There's the extractor. There's all different pieces in here that we can take out, and very gently with Q-tips, with some Ballistol, we can clean everything, and then we can put everything back together. Again, I have a whole nother video for that on how to clean a firearm, and I will link to that as well. But that, just so you know, in very basic terms, is how to remove the slide. And then you're like, well, I took it off, but how do I put it back on? Well, very easily. So we're going to take the slide and see these little kind of indents here on the rails. We're going to come up here onto the firearm, and then we're just going to push it all the way back. We're good to go. That's how easy it is. Practice with this though, because it takes a lot of practice. You're going to do that, and then you're going to go to do it again, and you're going to forget to pull the trigger, and you're going to say, oh, why isn't it coming out? It's stuck. No, it's stuck because you forgot to pull the trigger. It's empty. Pull the trigger. Comes right off. Guys, I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that this made sense. I have a video on cleaning the firearm, and the video goes into a lot of detail on how to take the slide off of the lower, how to take the spring off, how to take the barrel out, how to take the ejector out, the firing pin, the back plate. It goes into all the detail. I'm going to link to that, and check that out if you want some more in-depth knowledge on how to disassemble and clean a handgun, or a Glock specifically. But like I said, I hope this was helpful. If you're new, ask some questions. If you're experienced, share some knowledge for some of the newer viewers and subscribers. Guys, don't be embarrassed to ask a more senior firearms owner or a gun store owner, a licensed firearms dealer. Don't be embarrassed to ask them questions. Everybody has to start somewhere. I hope this was helpful. Watch the next one, like and subscribe.